Interviewing is one of the most personal steps in the hiring process. We are evaluating people, listening to their stories, and forming impressions in real time. And because interviews are so human, they are also vulnerable to unconscious biases that can quietly shape our decisions. In this video, we will explore some of the most common interview biases, what they look like, why they matter, and how recognizing them helps us make more fair, accurate hiring decisions. Even seasoned interviewers can unintentionally rely on assumptions, gut feelings, or first impressions. When bias slips into the process, it can distort how we evaluate candidates and shift our focus away from what truly matters, their ability to be successful in the role. By becoming aware of where bias shows up, we strengthen our hiring practices and create a more equitable, thoughtful selection process. The halo effect happens when one positive characteristic becomes the lens through which we view the entire candidate. Someone who is articulate or polished may be automatically perceived as strong in unrelated technical or analytical skills. It creates an overly favorable impression that isn't grounded in evidence and can lead us to overlook gaps that matter for the role. Stereotyping occurs when we apply broad generalizations to an individual based on their membership in a group, whether age, gender, cultural background, or any other identity. These assumptions are rarely accurate and often unfair. Believing older candidates resist technology or younger candidates lack professionalism are examples of stereotypes that can cause us to overlook qualified applicants. Central tendency bias emerges when interviewers feel uncomfortable giving extremely high or low scores, resulting in everyone being rated somewhere in the middle. This safe zone approach can mask significant differences between candidates and make it difficult to identify who is truly the strongest fit. The contrast effect happens when we evaluate candidates in relation to one another rather than in relation to the job requirements. If the first applicant performs poorly, the next candidates may seem more impressive, regardless of whether they actually meet the role's expectations. This bias shifts the standard and can lead to inaccurate comparisons. Cultural noise occurs when candidates tailor their responses to what they think the interviewer wants to hear. This can make it difficult to assess genuine preferences or strengths. For example, a candidate who works best independently might claim to thrive in teams simply because they believe that's the more acceptable answer. Interviewers may not recognize the disconnect, leading to mismatches later on. Affinity bias is one of the most natural and most subtle biases. It occurs when we feel an instant connection with someone because of shared experiences or backgrounds, like attending the same college or having a similar hobby. While it feels positive, it can skew objectivity and unintentionally give certain candidates an unfair advantage. Confirmation bias occurs when interviewers form an early impression, positive or negative, and then ask questions that support that belief. If someone assumes a candidate lacks drive based on their accent or demeanor, they may ask questions that reinforce that narrative instead of exploring the candidate's true capabilities. Once confirmation bias sets in, objectivity becomes much harder to maintain. Nonverbal bias places too much weight on body language or appearance. A candidate who avoids eye contact may be showing respect in their culture, not insecurity. Someone who taps their foot might simply be enthusiastic or cold, not anxious or unprepared. Judging candidates based on nonverbal cues can lead to inaccurate conclusions. These biases affect all of us, even when we're trying to be objective. Awareness is the first step toward building a more equitable hiring process. When we recognize bias, we can put structure and safeguards in place, allowing us to evaluate candidates based on what truly matters: their skills, their experience, and their potential to excel in the role. Understanding interview bias gives you the foundation to create a more fair, intentional hiring experience.